Hey, everybody, welcome back to I Know a Guy. I'm Anthony, and this is the podcast where connections thrive. Each episode, we spotlight inspiring entrepreneurs, professionals, and individuals doing amazing things. Together, we'll grow your circle, spark collaboration, and discover new opportunities. Today, we're meeting Scott Kallick, a profit acceleration specialist and serial entrepreneur who helps lifestyle businesses double their profits and build lasting wealth. With his proprietary 22 strategy growth platform, Scott guides business owners in structuring and scaling their companies for long-term success while creating and building wealth for their businesses. How are you doing today, Scott?
Good morning. I'm doing well. Thank you.
Yeah, I was excited to have you on. We've had some conversations before. You're doing awesome things, and there's people out there that need to hear what you do because a lot of them, they're unaware. They don't know what they don't know. So you're definitely somebody to get to know a little bit. So to start off, where are you calling in from? Where are you located?
I am in Snowmass, Colorado. You can see when you have a place in a mountain resort town, you become a de facto free hotel. So I've got my bunk beds. Those are queen size bunks, and I can sleep 8 in there, although not comfortably. But
Yeah, I get that. So how's Colorado today?
it's gorgeous. Had a gorgeous sunrise. Blue, red red sunrise coming over the mountains. It was, we got a lot of snow. We've gotten probably 15, 20 inches over the last week. In a lot of parts of the country that paralyzes people, but here we dance in the streets when we get that kind of precipitation. So
Yeah, I get you there. If it was a little south here, everybody would be losing their minds. But if you have friends coming in, let's say they've never visited before, where are you guys going? What are you doing for fun? And where are you going for dinner?
well, wow, great questions. Well, we're 4 minutes. I'm 4 minutes from the ski lift, so most people want to come in and ski. So we're going skiing. Um, We're doing a little après ski, maybe catch some music on the mountain afterward. Um, Dinner is always a funny thing because Aspen um, was a hippie town back in the '70s and '80s, and had a real hippie vibe. You could go to the corner place, get a cheap burger, get a $2-3 beer. That's gone now. Aspen has become a place for billionaires. Um, and billionaires are pushing out the millionaires. So dinners are gotten pretty expensive. Sometimes you have to veer away from Aspen to get a reasonable dinner, even a reasonable burger. So depending on what someone wants, we're either going for some Mexican or a burger, or if you want to go upscale, we go for some seafood. But it's some people like the whole experience. Some people are like, hey, you know what? Spare my pocketbook a little bit.
Yeah, no, definitely. The billionaires kicking out the millionaires. It's like, okay, we're eating at home tonight, kind of
Right.
a thing. So I get
Right.
that. So awesome. Well, what can you tell us about what you do?
So I've had a pretty full. I mean, I've had a full career of owning a business. Buying a very small little boutique company in my late 20s, and you know, building it up to a mid-market, best-in-class company, and having a successful exit. And that's my passion now, is to see other people kind of follow the same journey that I've had. I mean, nobody's going to have the exact same journey, but there's ways to you know um, visualize really what I always encourage people to look at what the end of their business looks like. Hey, you you want to exit feet first, that's fine. You want to build something where toward your retirement, where you can live a comfortable life and get out of your business. You want to pass it along to your kids. What does it look like for you? And then once people can really get straight on that, then it's a process of um, showing them the steps to build their business, to make it something substantial for themselves, and to begin to really fulfill what their vision is.
Okay. So you kind of, high leveled over how you got started going from, having a successful exit yourself to where you are now. What did that transition look like to where you're like, hey, I did this, in a successful way. I want to help others achieve the same, or I want to help them in different ways. What was that like?
Yeah, that's a great question. That was probably one of the really difficult parts of my life. Like, um, for 25 years, I ran a business, and and I'd wake up every morning, and I'd be excited about, hey, what what's going to happen today? What's going to be created today? What's going to happen? And all the decisions that went into that. I mean, literally hundreds of decisions every single day. And then one day you sell your business, and you're like, all right, I just sold everything that my life was wrapped up in, and what do I do now? Um, that was really tough for me. Like I just had no idea, all that white space in front of me, had no idea what I was going to do, and I took a position with the acquiring company. We sold out to a multi-billion-dollar company. They said, "Hey, you're valuable here. You're going to be an officer of the company." I'd never really explored the corporate world before. I'm like, okay, this is a new journey for me. I'm going to explore the corporate world. Um, I was really underwhelmed by the way they did things, the way they managed the company, the decisions they made. So it was time for me to move on. 4.5 years, time to move on. Again, it was like, okay, all this white space is in front of me. What am I going to do? So I enrolled in a coaching program, a life coaching program, and um, kind of embraced that fully. And then when that was up, I'm like, okay, I don't want to, you know, I don't want to work with housewives. I mean, nothing against housewives, but that wasn't my jam. I just realized, you know what, I need the passion of a business owner in my life. So I started working with startups. Startups have their own challenges. A lot of them are, first of all, very few of them really can really get to a point of success. And um, it was, and a lot of them are emotional roller coasters, which I was only partially equipped to deal with. So I kind of pivoted to saying, okay, you know what? I want to work with mature businesses. I want to work with mature business owners who, you know, um, maybe they're not moving as fast as they want to move. Maybe they're, a little bit stuck in how they're doing things and what they're doing. And really that's kind of about 2 years ago, I pivoted over there, and it's been very fulfilling.
Yeah, I like that because it really highlights that you're not stuck with whatever you're doing. Your niche can change. You can figure out, hey, I don't like this as much as this, and you start leaning in that direction. Because a lot of people think once they kind of have their niche set and they go out there, that's what they have to do. It's like, well, no, you can learn along the way and make changes. That's how you're going to grow. So that's awesome. I really like that. I really like that journey that you had. What is it that you love most about what you're doing now?
I like to see companies move in a real positive direction. Like the one thing about a lot of business owners is they go head down. The phone rings. Okay, I got a customer. I got to take care of my customer. And they're busy and they're happy because they're busy, and it's great. It's a lot better to be busy than not busy. But you know, once a business owner really picks their head up from their business and they start looking into their business, and they start understanding their numbers. They understand what the numbers mean. They can really target different goals. Then they can really start making some positive moves in their business, and make some really, you know, once they realize what their vision is, all their goals can start aligning to that vision, and it makes their decisions a lot easier.
So, what are some hard won lessons that you had with your first business, and then what you're doing now? That there might have been some growing pains or things that you see others making. That if you can kind of go back in time and tell yourself, or tell somebody starting off, hey, you know what, you're probably going to come across XYZ challenge. What advice would you give them?
As counterintuitive as it sounds, I would say don't get attached to your customers. I mean, look, we're all here to serve, and the more, and there's a wonderful karma to service. You put yourself into somebody, you serve to the best of your ability. That's what we're here for. But you can't get attached to your customers, because at some point your needs and their needs may diverge, and it's okay to let them go. I mean, one of the hardest lessons I had. when I bought my company, it was really important to me. Okay, I've got this base. These are my customers. I got this base. I want to grow from here. And it was like, okay, I'm going to do everything I can to keep my customers. It's a good thing. But I remember, we had a large college that we were serving, Marshall University, and I spent a lot of time down there as servicing them personally, taking care of them. Thought I was doing a great job for them, and they put the contract out to bid, and another company came in. You know, they were probably a little more sharper and on point than I was on our proposal, and they gave it to them. It was $100,000 worth of volume for us. Gone. Oh, I was kind of devastated. And I got into a funk for, I don't know, a couple weeks. And then I sat down and I put a pencil to it and I realized, hey, you know what? It's $100,000 top line, but bottom line, it's only about $20,000. And you know what? We can make this up. We can make this up pretty quickly, pretty easily. So, for me, it was like, okay, who do I need to go out and see? Who do I need to go out and sign up? And within 3-4 months, we had all the volume taken care of, and I wasn't spending as much time, and it was better business for us and more long-term business, more loyal business. Um, so that was a lesson that I learned pretty quickly. Like, service your customers, take care of them, be courteous, be responsive, but don't get attached. They have their own needs, and sometimes you're just not part of it, and it's okay.
Yeah, you can't be everything to everybody, and things change over time. Like you were saying, they might need more specialized help than what you can provide, and you're going to be spending more time outside of your niche trying to fix stuff. When it's like, okay, probably better if I maybe refer them to somebody that's going to be able to serve that best, because then on top of that, you're building the relationship, and you're both getting a gold star for that too. So definitely great advice. What does your average client look like? What's the avatar there? What is the pain points that somebody might be going through, that if they're dealing with XYZ, you're the person that they should be talking to?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times businesses, lifestyle businesses, emerging businesses, they kind of hit a ceiling. They're the typical business owner starts out in business. He wears a lot of hats. He or she wears a lot of hats. They're doing everything. They're CEO. They're chief everything officer. They're, you know, they're doing the books. They're, dealing with the customers. They're sweeping the floors. They're doing everything. And, at some point, you have to start letting go. You have to start bringing people in who can fulfill some of the jobs that you need to do. Very difficult because, I struggled with it. I really never fully developed a sales force in my company because, nobody did it as well as I was. I did, and I couldn't sit back and watch people make mistakes and lose potential sales. It was really, really tough for me. I think it's really common, just for people to let go. But so you hit a natural ceiling. Like there's only so much business you can do on your own. Um, so you know, really sitting with people, um, business owners, really getting them comfortable with their numbers, seeing seeing what they mean, seeing what their gross profit is, their net profit. I mean, 80% of the businesses out there, business owners, if you ask them what their net profit is or their gross profit, they would have no idea. Um, Nothing against it. It's just they're not thinking in those directions. They're saying, hey, you know what? I got money in my bank account today, and life's good. um, but tomorrow, they're paying their bills, and you know, they have a lot less money in their bank account, and life's not so good. So, it's a question of really doing some, day to day and then long term planning to really get them to the point where they're putting money away. They're planning for their future. They're putting money away. They're making some decisions, with their accountants and their attorneys, to find vehicles where, they can really enrich their business and have a long-term strategy of, you know, hey, you know what? Today I'm 35, but in 25 years I'm 60. I'm not going to be wanting to do this to the extent that I'm doing it right now. Um, you know, I
Hmm.
I don't want to go and live in public housing when I'm 65.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely, and you're not wrong. There are periods of the time where it's like I just don't have the bandwidth to track this stuff and do X, Y, Z. I like that chief everything officer. Yeah, a lot of us we're exactly there. Where it's like, okay, we need to delegate some to somebody else because you're working in your business instead of on your business, kind of a mentality too. So that's awesome. What about power partners? What are other professionals or um, different industries out there that you synergize well with and find collaborations with?
I like to talk with bookkeepers because bookkeepers kind of see businesses from the inside, and they can kind of identify where their clients may need some help to grow. They probably hear a lot of those frustrations. I like to synergize uh, with different types of insurance people, who service fleets of vehicles, who sell insurance to companies who have fleets because those are often business owners who are managing, 8 to 10 people on the road. Again, a lot of these people they've got good businesses, they attract good clients. They've never really taken a business course. They've never really drilled down into how to really move their business uh, with some elevation.
Okay. How can small business owners identify and fix profit leaks in their business?
The first thing is to really, one of the first things I work with my clients, two areas. Number one is cost containment. We really drill down and say, we get granular. Hey, where's your money going? Where are you paying it out to? You know, how might that look better? If you have, if you accept credit cards, can you get a better rate on your credit card? So maybe you're maybe you're paying 2.5% rather than 3.5%. You know, what does your insurance look like? When's the last time you got some competitive quotes? What does your rent look like? You know, is it going up? Is there a better place for you to be? Can you talk to your landlord, get some abatements? Um, so those are one of the first areas because for every dollar saved in a business, the actual multiplier is about it's 2.47. So for every dollar you save in your business, there's a $2.47 impact on that. So the second thing we do is we look at your pricing. Like, are you charging enough? What kind of margin do you need to really survive here? So we drill down and we really look at the pricing and and really start to build a better model. A lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business people are they're really afraid of um, they're really afraid of adjusting their pricing. They're afraid that their clients are going to go away. But in reality, if you lose 10% of your business and you raise your prices 10%, you're still up about 30%. So,
Okay. How can entrepreneurs structure their business to create long term wealth?
well, first of all, I encourage people to start putting some money away in an account that's untouchable. So, take a percentage of your money, start putting some money away, start creating an account for yourself that's untouchable. Um, Start creating different, potentially, you know, create different holding companies where you can, if you own a building, maybe you can pay yourself rent instead of, and that money just goes and gets put away, and you're not taxed on it. So there's, you know, there's different vehicles to do that, and that's what I encourage people to do.
Okay. And then how can entrepreneurs scale their businesses without burning out?
One thing that I begin to work with people on early on is their time freedom. and we all have 168 hours in the week. Um, so it's how you use those. And when people really start looking at how they're spending their time, there's time to be created, and they can create time to take care of themselves. I mean, one thing I started to do early on, my first hour and 45 minutes of the day were for me. I exercised, and I still do that. And that's time that I just created for myself, and it made me leveled me out in a lot of ways. It kept me calm. I mean, believe me, I had bad days too, but I take it out on the weight bench. I'd hit the weight bench, and um, so there's time to be created. There's time to be created with your loved ones. You know, schedule. You don't have to work till 8 o'clock every night. Schedule some time with your loved ones. One night a week, just to keep you fresh.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of us that need that where it's, well, I gotta do X, Y, Z, and I only have this period of time. So all the other stuff is going to take a back burner, and then it stays back burner, and then you start getting that burnout, and then it's a compounding problem. So absolutely. Is there anything that I missed or failed to ask that you wanted to add?
Um, you know, a lot. Well, so I was going to go into a I was going to go into a monologue here, but um, so here's what you can ask me. What would you tell a business person? Um, and what I would tell a business person is there's lots of ways to make excuses for not really getting what you want. And a lot of times I hear, "Hey, I don't have the time. I don't have the money." Um, you know, there's always there's always a good time to invest in yourself, no matter how much investing that time, investing that money to get what you want. And you know, hey, you can always say, "Hey, I don't have money," but the truth is, everybody's got money. You got money to pay your rent. You got money to pay your mortgage. You got money to feed yourself. It's a question of, like, how you spend your time. It's how you spend your money. And if you really want something for yourself, you have to invest in yourself. Um, and you have to invest in yourself to get the outcomes in your life and your business that are really important.
For the people that are wanting those outcomes, that are wanting to invest in themselves, what's the best way that they reach you? Where can they find you?
Um, they can find me on LinkedIn. I think there's only two Scott Kallicks in there, and you'll see Scott Kallick as a profit acceleration specialist. That's me. That's a great place to reach me. Um, you can also reach out to me on Facebook. That's a good place. Um, I would say call me, but I don't pick up the phone unless it's a number that I recognize. So if you do call me, and you're welcome to, just leave a message, and I will return the call.
Awesome. Yeah, and you have a website as well?
I do. It's Scott. It's Scott at scottkellick.com.
Awesome. Yep. And I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to put all that into the show notes so it's easy to find. Yeah, people just click on it and go. But if anybody would like to get a hold of Scott, absolutely do it. You're going to walk away knowing more than you do going in. He's an absolute amazing resource. He's there to help people. So you should absolutely have that conversation. If anybody would like to get a hold of me, you can find me at ikag.me. You can find more episodes, subscribe to our newsletter, and connect with our growing community of awesome people like Scott. If you were somebody you know would like to be interviewed, you could also apply on the website. But Scott, I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you so much for this. This has been great. Really
Yeah,
appreciate
I love what you're doing. There's a lot of business owners out there that, like you said, 80% of them, you just ask them, some basic questions, and it's like, I don't know. There's money in the account today, so today's a good day. So we need to probably take a couple steps past that and get to a little bit more comfortable position. And I'm happy that there's people out there like you doing that. So let's all go out. Let's have an awesome day and grow our circles. All right.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
All right.